statements, actually.
Interesting. Donald Trump, thank you as always. You always sit down. You always take the questions.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
Thank you so much, sir. Lots to chew over there. A surprise split with the Supreme Court. Let's break it down with our panel. We have with us conservative talk radio giant Hugh Hewitt, CNN's chief political correspondent Dan Abash, both of whom will be asking questions during Tuesday's debates, as well as CNN political commentators Anna Navarro and Van Jones are joining us here as well. Interesting stuff from Mr. Trump.
I don't even know where to start. There's so much to unpack there. I mean, just where you ended with the Scalia comments. For a Republican, for a conservative to criticize Scalia is like anathema, right? I mean,
well, it is, and I don't think he understands oral argument, because you can say anything. Van will confirm that you can say anything in oral argument. Doesn't mean you believe it. So
right.
I thought that was a little bit odd.
Right, but I'm guessing he wasn't going there to like sort of break down the concept of oral arguments at the Supreme Court. It was more about African Americans. And it's just when you think that, you know, from the perspective of his opponents, he can't get more, you know, they call him bigoted. They call him, you know, name the label. But on African Americans, he says, whoa, whoa, whoa. I read that. I mean, you really had to push him to get him to explain what he meant. And he thought that Scalia's comments were wrong, and he sounded a lot like Harry Reid sounded there.
Yeah, but Dana, you know, Donald Trump has done this over and over and over again, said things that are opposing views to what conservatives feel, to conservative ideology, whether he is mocking communion, whether he is calling Iowans, you know, stupid in their own state. I mean, he's done this over and over again, and it's had absolutely no effect. In fact, his numbers have gone up. So I think that's what people expect from him, this kind of political incorrectness. I will say what I think. I will think what I want, and, you know, just
But he didn't do that.
But he was doing the opposite here in this instance, Van. I mean, he was basically suggesting that Justice Scalia shocked Donald Trump.
Well, I mean, the comments were shocking. And let me finish. Hey, listen, you've had your turn, sir. I mean, here's the reality. In fact, in oral argument, you can raise hypotheticals you don't agree with. Unfortunately, this is a consistent pattern with Scalia. He never raises the other side of the argument. So I do think he is speaking in some ways for his views, and I think it was welcome for Trump to point out this was a little bit shocking. At the same time, listen, the stuff that Donald Trump was saying, even when I thought did a great job of trying to point out that there are great Muslims who are around the world, some of whom have been interpreters for the United States, who risked their lives for the United States trying to get here, having helped us in Iraq. And he wants to keep them out. He didn't respond to that at all. And
here's his genius. His genius is he has made a position. He doubled down on it, tripled down on it, quadrupled down on it with Jake. The Afghan pilot, nice story, Jake. Great. I'm glad for her, but we have a problem in the country. Afghan woman walking through the streets, great story, Jake. We have a problem in the country.
Now, why is that genius?
Into the fear.
Why is that genius? If you go back and look, what he did was he took the subject of Muslim women and then immediately started talking about Tashfeen Malik.
Yeah.
But I was talking about women who are on the front lines in Afghanistan, fighting Islamic extremism, risking their own lives. One of flying a plane for the Afghan Air Force.
He is a marketer extreme. He hits his point. He stays on his point. He does not move from his point.
He really doesn't.
Now, I want to go back to the brokered convention point that you brought up in this interview. I have got to tell you, I just don't buy this story, okay? I know Reince Priebus pretty well. I'm pretty sure you all do, too. You know, Reince Priebus does not have a stupid bone in his body. I have a very hard time thinking that he would go to a dinner with 20 blabbermouths who haven't even left the dinner when they're already talking to the Washington Post and discuss this openly. If Reince Priebus were actually thinking of this, it would not be discussed openly in this setting. I think this is a premature talk. I just don't buy it.
Back me on this.
Yeah.
Every 4 years around this time, people like us start talking about a brokered convention. Whether it's 8 years ago it was the Democrats, but it's what political junkies love. The idea.
4 years ago it was the Republicans.
Right, exactly. But this year, Republican officials are talking about it as a possibility in a way that I have never seen
Totally
before.
agree with you, Jake. And Anna, of course, I don't think that it unfolded the way people think of it doing so in Hollywood, like a Republican party chair goes with a cigar in the back room and, you know, over steak and plots this. Absolutely not. My understanding, in talking to some people who are familiar with the dinner, is that it was a regular dinner. They do it every month, and it came up. And it's not so much about Trump or about this one or that one. It's because the field is so big, and they're thinking, okay, Cruz wins Iowa, so maybe Christie or somebody wins New Hampshire. Go down the calendar, and we don't have somebody with the number of delegates.
Absolutely, but my point is, Reince Priebus is nothing if not discreet. The man has a legal department.
Exactly. So my understanding is he came up and Donald Trump, he has got are you ready if this happens? And he said yes. That was it.
True or false? There is real angst in the Republican Party right now, and if Donald Trump, let's say, is getting 40% of the delegates, that there is a real movement inside the Republican Party to keep him, even if he has a plurality, to keep him from becoming the nominee.
Well, both true and false. It takes 1,236 delegates to be nominated in Cleveland. It's the best thing in the world. At 1,236, Iowa has 30 of them. New Hampshire has 23. South Carolina has 50. Nevada has 30. And so by the end of February, we will have decided like 1/10 of 1% of the delegates necessary. Anna's completely right. I have a source inside the RNC. So Reince doesn't hire well because my son works there. And it is a regularly scheduled dinner. And someone said, what happens if no one's got 1,236 delegates? And they said, well, we'll figure it out. We'll be ready. And Sean Spicer came on with you, I think, Jake, and said, hey, we're just talking about what happens because you got to win. It's not an open convention. We don't have a Thomas Platt from New York or a Lorimer, the blonde boss from Chicago, or the quiet boss from New York. They don't exist anymore. You just got to get 1,236 delegates.
How much, Van, how much do Democrats want Donald Trump to be the nominee?
I think it's changing. I think at first people really wanted him to be the nominee because he is, so outrageous, so offensive. This will destroy the Republican Party. I think his turn against Muslims and to complete demagoguery. A leader describes a solution. A demagogue describes a problem over and over again and tries to scapegoat a group. And I think people are now beginning to wonder, is he going to poison not just the Republican Party, but the American electorate against Muslims and make it possible for a kind of hateful, fearful demagoguery to be possible in governor's races.
Dan is the only pure-hearted Democrat out there. Everybody else is downright giddy about the idea of a Donald Trump who's burning bridges with Latinos, who's burning bridges with Muslims, who's burning bridges with women.
You say that, but in the polls and the head-to-head matchups, Donald Trump does often beat Hillary Clinton. Stay right here. Don't go anywhere. Coming up, Will Ferrell back on Saturday Night Live. Politics on the menu. A mix of past and present for your enjoyment coming up next.
Orange Oompa Loompa face. I just pissed my pants.
Anytime soon. Let's bring in our panel. Conservative talk radio giant Hugh Hewitt, CNN's chief political correspondent Dana Bash, both of whom will be answering questions during Tuesday's debates. We're also joined by CNN political commentators Anna Navarro and Van Jones. Let's dive into the poll that we're all really interested in, the Des Moines Register poll. Very respected poll, has a strong history of accuracy, although we should point out we are still long way of political terms from the Iowa caucus. Trump is in second place. Cruz is in first. Cruz 31, Trump 21, Carson 13, Rubio 10, Bush at 6, and then everyone else is at 3% or lower. What does this mean?
It means that Ted Cruz has long developed a social media network and a deep grassroots in Iowa that a lot of us have been knowing about for a long time. He has contacts at the level through Facebook and Twitter, et cetera, that other people just simply are unaware of. Mm-hmm. So he's built an extraordinary new age organization for Iowa that they haven't seen before. I do think he is the front runner. He says he doesn't want to have a
the front runner in Iowa or everywhere?
Oh, in Iowa. Yeah. He says he doesn't want a cage match with Donald Trump, but if you end up in a cage and someone closes the door, which is probably what's going to happen on Tuesday night, it's a cage match.
Well, but here's the thing, Anna. He says he doesn't want a cage match with Donald Trump, but there were these comments he made behind closed doors, and as we know, there's no such thing as behind closed doors these days, which he took a shot at Donald Trump. It was veiled and guarded, but he still was basically saying, judgment, who do you want with their finger on the button, me or Donald Trump, me or Ben Carson? I think that's a contest I'm going to win. He's going to be called to that on Tuesday.
He is so very astute, Ted Cruz. Wily, astute, and he's trying to have it both ways. He wants his cake and to eat it, too. He wants to be in a position so that if Donald Trump at some point drops out, he can inherit those supporters. He does not want to antagonize the Donald Trump supporters who are very committed to Donald Trump. He does not want to antagonize the Ben Carson supporters. I think we've seen Ted Cruz have a very good last couple of weeks. He's been solidifying the base. You see conservative media coming out in his defense constantly. He important endorsements in Iowa. And frankly, he's a much better fit for Iowa when you take a look at it than a Donald Trump, a man who's been married 3 times, who's had corporate bankruptcies, who's, had a hard time quoting the Bible. Ted Cruz is a guy who goes out and quotes the Bible every time he's out there.
And the argument for Ted Cruz that he makes is that that the elections are no longer about winning the independent voters in the middle. He says he is a conservative. He's a real conservative, unlike Romney, McCain, Dole, etc. Get him on the ballot against Hillary Clinton, and conservatives will come out to vote.
And that's the same argument that Bernie Sanders is making on the other side. I think Ted Cruz has been brilliant. I agree with you. He's been able to walk right alongside Donald Trump. He never has tried to turn and fire. He's never tried to make it an issue. He understands that at some point, maybe these people are not going to be able to get what they want, and he can be the second best choice. Well, Rubio's been trying to be the second best for everybody. Cruz has been second best for Trump.
And if you just look at this poll, it worked. He is now the choice for now some former Carson supporters. I mean, a 21-point jump is unbelievable. Yeah. And with his jump was Carson's fall. The other thing that I saw in this poll that I think is very telling about the long-term strategy, because as we know in recent history, you win Iowa and then you don't go anywhere else with Santorum and Huckabee. But Ted Cruz not only has the money for the long haul, he also is winning not just among evangelicals in Iowa, but among Tea Party supporters. And the way the Republican Party has been going in recent election cycles, those are the people who are fueling not just, caucuses in Iowa, but primaries all around.
And he got a big bump yesterday from, of all places, Paris, where 195 people decided what the law of the United States will be. Ted Cruz has been in front of the Supreme Court 9 times. That doesn't happen because you're lucky. He is going after climate deal, and he is going to rise with it.